high gear. And that's why I want to introduce my next guest, because it's Sonia Gupta Anand. She's the Director of Global Omni-Channel Experiences at MAC, and she knows all about it. Oh, hey, Sonia, I love your background.
I had to be on brand today for you guys. It's nice to be here, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you and to actually see you. We've had a chance to talk, but not see each other.
Absolutely.
Well, where are you anyway?
I am in the suburbs of New York, in a town called Roslyn.
Oh, very cool. So you're getting the snow tomorrow too.
We just melted a little bit, and I feel like we're getting more after the melting. So it's never a dull moment, right?
That is true. But then people can shop. And speaking of that,
Stay home and shop online.
yes,
That's
online or in store, which is obviously when COVID hit, it really challenged retailers, especially stores weren't opening and e-commerce really took over. But it's hard to still keep up that engagement with consumers. Tell me about that for you guys and how you were able to sort of, meet that head on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think I agree with you, right? Shopping is such a sensorial experience. You need to kind of touch and feel, especially if a product is new and unfamiliar. And so, obviously consumers are shopping online more than ever. And MAC luckily has always been a very digital first brand. So we were one of the first brands about 4+ years ago to launch virtual try-on in our store formats. And most recently launched virtual try-on on our .coms in August of 2019, which obviously, without knowing a pandemic was around the corner, was great. And I saw the post that Steve had earlier and the chart about augmented reality being a bit inflated. And I would say for us, it's actually been really, really great and a really successful capability. We've seen tool usage up 3 times since the start of the pandemic. And so we're really kind of narrowing down and focusing on how do we enhance these tools based on feedback from consumers? How do we get these tools in more people's hands? So for us, it's about taking what we've seen be really effective for consumers and in this digital environment and doubling down and really enhancing that, journey and experience with new content.
Well, and when it did happen, though, in terms of, obviously your in-store salespeople had to kind of figure out what to do next, how to work these tools if they weren't already, knowledgeable about that. How difficult was that getting things going? Because you guys really just had to hit it head on.
Yeah, right. March came and we kind of had to pivot right away. So
Right.
to totally agree with you. And artists have always been such a core part of our journey. I mean, Mac was started by artists way back in the 80s. And so they have been instrumental from the beginning. And we really actually try to work hard to create that flow of communication between the artists and our, us in corporate who are actually putting out these digital tools. So they are part of the testing process when it comes to these tools. We include them early on in the experience engagement so that they actually are part of the process. And then they feel more built in when it actually does launch. And so our artists have a ton of training at their fingertips. We have a very open, direct communication channel. Most recently we launched our Queens Innovation Lab at the Queens Center Mall, and the artists there are actually using these tools to curate looks, especially now when we're not doing any, on-person, look creation. So they are literally my right hand, men, women, whatever it may be. And it kind of connects to our credo of all ages, all races, all genders. Mac is a place for everyone, and the tools are really relevant to multiple generations and suitable for all skin tones. And we really kind of spend a lot of time working with the artists to make sure we get that accuracy correct with these digital tools.
Right. And now talking about, and before actually we get into this, I want to show, we have a picture of your Queens Innovation Lab. This is in Queens, New York, if everyone can see that. And talk a little bit more about that, because that was underway. That was sort of your, place of the future, and it became the now really quickly. Talk about that and how that maybe accelerated what you're doing now as well.
Yeah. So, even before the pandemic started, we were really focusing on transforming what retail could be for Mac and what the experience would be for the evolving consumer. We actually launched our first innovation lab in Shanghai in 2019, where the focus was really about navigating the entire store using the WeChat app, which obviously is very native to consumers in that locale and how they really navigate the shopping experience. So with that, we took those learnings and brought it over here to the West, our sort of Western innovation lab, if you will, at Queens Center. And we've been working on it for, almost 2 years, and it coincided with the pandemic. Obviously, no one had planned for that, but the goal was to really create a digital first consumer-driven experience, creating, different co-creation experiences with the artist and the consumer, as well as allowing these consumers to really be their true selves, right? Back to their ethos of all ages, all races, all genders. So in the center, that kind of core area, you see the art studio where the artists create looks using digital tools. We have a digital face chart tool where
I
the
want to
artists.
actually, while you're talking, not to
Yeah,
interrupt, you have a couple of shots. It's
yeah,
called
please.
Design Your Palette. Can you
Yep.
talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Design Your Palette section, actually the local Queens artists who are in that store created palettes specifically for the consumers that come into the store. So it's very, very localized. And so you can see here, you have a range of different colors to choose from. And at the top, you have colors and looks that were actually chosen by the artists locally. And if you look at the iPad in the center, consumers can drag and drop different colors into palette formations. So they can actually find their ideal palette, whether it's based on an inspiration palette from a local artist, or if it's actually just kind of their own from scratch. So it's super cool. It's very much about personalization and personal expression, which has always been, Mac and who we are.
Right. And if we want to go to the next shot, Ryan. Yeah. Now this, is this like for the picture, or are they able to see what they look like as they're trying all these different palettes?
Absolutely. So when you click on the button on the screen, you can actually see a range of looks that MAC Cosmetics and the local artists have curated for the consumers in that store. And it's based on what we're seeing as local trends. And so they really are seeing a representation of looks that would make sense for them. And each look, which is awesome, has sort of a dial up and dial down feature. So if you want your sort of like going out, or in this case, like your Zoom date night look, you have that as a dial up. Or if you're kind of looking for a more approachable, Zoom meeting during the day look, you've also got that as well. So we wanted to really show that MAC has anything you need, regardless of the kind of look you're going for.
And how are customers embracing this? I mean, it seems like obviously, it's pretty cool. So I imagine they're enjoying it, but are they picking up on it quickly, or what's the, I guess, the learning scale?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the customers have had really amazing feedback. In the first month alone, we saw significantly higher engagement with the digital experiences, over 200+% increase engagement. So very much a positive feedback. Within all of these experiences, you also have this new capability called MAC Pass. And MAC Pass gives each consumer within the store that day a personalized QR code so they can scan in to each of these experiences and retain all of their favorites, their selfies, whatever looks they like in a singular place on their phone, which they can save for later if they want to show some friends. So we really have sort of taken the consumer mindset and that goal of, switching between the online and in-store experience seamlessly to heart and created that unified journey. And within each of these experiences, like you saw, make your own palette. Some of the favorite experiences are the lip try-on experience. Consumers really love the idea of lifting a product and seeing it on their lip, which we have for the lip area. And we also have custom printing, which is super fun. I don't know if anyone has any gifts to give, but you can actually custom print your name, put emojis on different lip bullets. So you can gift that to your special someone, and that becomes such a really, personal, special artifact from the store. So really kind of great opportunity to try new things and really see what MAC is pushing for the future of our retail experience.
Well, I think what's also interesting is you're getting all of this information from people in a fun way. I mean, they're wanting to provide you this information that, in a time when especially data isn't as prevalent, this must be something that that's just an extra boon for you guys with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously it's great to understand the consumers, and we would never do anything, to breach that comfort level. But at the same time, I think what's even better is that we have such a breadth in our portfolio. Like MAC has such a wonderful range of products. You can actually try these products on at the drop of a hat. You can try 20 lipsticks in the course of 10 seconds, let's say, right? And so that's the best part of it too, is us providing customers with such a strong experience that takes them into our mind, at the top of our mind, versus worrying about what we get, at the end of the day. So the customer will always be first, coupled with the artist, and making sure they have the right tools to succeed.
And this is not, we've been talking a little bit about in-store, but also this can be done
Online
as well, correct? So
Yep.
You're basically giving them that really omni-marketing opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I understand there's no true replacement for physically being able to sample products in real life, and hopefully we'll all get back there very soon, it's also just really hard to beat the convenience. Like I can tell you, I personally, I mean, I haven't tried on every single one of our products. I sometimes, you know, you're sitting on your couch at night and you want to try and play out with some new products. You may discover something that you never actually would have before. And so our online experiences have seen great success as well. And our goal is to really offer that consumer whichever way they want to shop with us in any of our channels. So really kind of thinking about them first.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really fun. A friend of mine, actually, she was talking about how she had a date and she was like, I felt like a teenager. I was trying on all different things. And if she had had the opportunity to do something, not just with trying on physically
Yeah.
clothes, but being able to change your face. So I'm assuming, I mean, we talked a little bit about this, but consumers are really both online and in store embracing this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're really seeing a pickup of those experiences. I mean, people are really leveraging them to be able to feed that sort of pent up wanting to shop and buy new things. I mean, I think that that's something that'll be interesting coming out of this pandemic when we've kind of reached the immunity stage, is how people will react, right? Will shopping kind of go in the other direction where people want to have that in person? We want to make sure we're sort of giving that proper experience on any of those channels. And I think technology like that and the virtual try-on is here to stay. I mean, you truly can't beat that convenience. You know, I have, my sister is actually getting married and she lives in Seattle, so we aren't able to actually do makeup consultations as I would as her maid of honor. So I'm able to send her colors through our online virtual try-on and, you know, say, oh, try these with the makeup artist, for example. It kind of builds that experience too, right? And so it's not only just, you know, try all of these on to convert, it's also making sure our consumers have the tools to continue to engage in experience with their loved ones as well, you know, through that kind of co-shopping experience, virtual consultations, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and we're talking about making it just more convenient for consumers. You guys recently paired with Postmates, you partnered.
Yep.
Talk about that and how much that is improving also your marketability for your customers.
Yeah. And so similar along the same lines is focusing on making our online shopping experience even more easy for the consumer. So in addition to offering in-store or curbside pickup, which some of our doors do, we're also, you know, the first national beauty brand that's able to partner with Postmates to provide that same day contactless delivery. And so, you know, it's sort of that consumer who maybe, you know, isn't necessarily walking into doors or has their list of, you know, items they need for replen. It's perfect for them. You know, consumers can shop on Mac. They can choose Postmates as a delivery option. It'll be delivered to them in 2 hours. I mean, you literally can't beat the convenience of that. And we're also expanding our presence with third-party retail platforms like QVC, and recently we debuted on Boots and ASOS as well. So, you know, we're really thinking about how consumers are exploring and shopping. It's almost like a modified mall mindset, right? Consumers are going to certain places, and we want to make sure we are there for them where they expect us to be.
And again, thinking towards the future is the delivery. Do you think that that's something that's going to stick around as well, that kind of convenience?
Absolutely. I mean, even just beyond like thinking about our world of Mac and beauty, now I don't think, you know, I personally haven't gone into a grocery store in a while, right? You know, you have a lot of things delivered too. You cannot beat that ease and convenience. And it also, you know, it takes the idea of time, which is one of our greatest, most kind of valuable assets. And it allows you to multi-purpose that time, right? You can have your, you know, groceries delivered, you can have your beauty products delivered, but you can also, you know, tend to your home, do some cleaning, hang out with your kids at the same time. I mean, I think that the pandemic certainly accelerated how we are viewing the customer journey and what the customer expectation is from both a brand and an individual consumer perspective. And so I think the things that we've gotten used to within the pandemic that were great advantages from where we've been before will continue to be here to stay and also be built upon.
And you talking about all of these things that really, I mean, granted they were in the works a little bit before, but really, as we talked, accelerated during a short period of time, relatively. How were you able, your national brand, you know, you're having to sort of have all these different stores pick up all of the different, you know, tools and know how to do it and get everyone, artists, to know how to use it. How did you really implement that? How did you get that going in such a quick, you know, such a short period?
We've got really strong store teams, as well as also a strong sort of regional architecture to support that. So, you know, when the pandemic first started, our core team was really kind of focused on getting the information from the ground, right? Because every market and region was very different with how they were handling the pandemic. So we really had a core team assembled that would provide guidelines and toolkits for how, each store and region would handle the pandemic based on obviously the rules and regulations of that local government. And it would be sort of a weekly cascade of what that looked like. So I think the most important part up front would be to architect what that information cascade is in both directions, right? Because we were hearing things from the local teams in terms of what they needed to support their stores and their retail channels, and vice versa. We were kind of reacting to that and giving them toolkits to kind of be able to support the retail business at that point. So I think that two-way communication is really important. And we just had a really strong team who was always willing to sort of roll up their sleeves and, figure out the best way to support our stores and our artists.
What about letting the the consumers know? I mean, obviously all of this new opportunities has happening for them. How did you let them know and be able to quickly and get the kind of engagement that you guys received?
Yeah, so we obviously have a very strong communications team who did a really great job in sort of cascading the information, not only for the Queen's Innovation Lab, but also for what our, what the status of the stores were, because every market, like I said, was different. So, what we were doing in New York was different than what was happening in California, and quite frankly, continues to be different every day. I'm sure everyone is on their phones looking at the alerts. So, what we were really focused on making sure that we cascaded the right information and really telling our consumers and being honest and forthcoming about where we were. So you had this great new Queen's Innovation Lab, but, just based on local legislations, there's going to be, limited capacity, or you're required to, put on different masks in the store. So we really made sure that we just cascaded the information as we were hearing it, and we're sort of truly honest with where we were with our consumers.
Now, before I do get to the last question, I wanted just to ask you about, I mean, as I said, a lot's happened this past year. What are your biggest key takeaways or lessons that maybe that aha moment? And then also just in terms of, are there any opportunities that you see? Like, do you see this as a new way, a new retail environment or experience moving forward, even after we leave the pandemic behind?
Absolutely. I think it's not going to be the same as it was before. I think it'll be a very different environment and climate, but I think it'll be a lot better. I think people are going to want to engage with one another again, right? I know I'm certainly looking forward to that. And I think in terms of values and sort of lessons learned, my biggest advice would be you almost have to leave about 20% of your capacity or sort of your plan and projects kind of open for that pivot, right? Or that agility that you're going to need to learn. I think starting last March, we were told one thing, the next week the news changed, the next week the regulations change, and we've often gotten, new things to kind of react to in each given moment. So I would say making sure that there is a little capacity in project plans and budgets and schedules for a bit of test and learn and pivot, and creating that agility is really important for brands to do and teams to do, going forward. It's not always easy to do. I know where everyone's sort of pushed to the limits, I'm sure, but that's certainly something I think has helped us at MAC and really keeping that customer at the center of everything you do, because, between our artists as our customers in a way and our actual, our ultimate consumers at the end, they're the ones we're all doing this for. So.
And just before we do, I know I said that was the last, but as a follow-up, obviously the infrastructure was in place. As you said, you had teams that were really good to respond quickly, but did it happen over, what did you guys have to sort of take that step back and kind of figure out what was next, and how quickly were you then able to then get everyone else involved?
Yeah, so I think I would almost loop back to that 20% kind of open capacity, right, that we all talked about. So obviously when we knew things were changing and pivoting on a day-to-day basis, we made sure to create architecture in terms of time and people's schedules, right? And also obviously time to pivot. We knew that was the most important thing that we were doing. And so I think by that being something we all held hands with in corporate, it wasn't something where everyone was doing one project on one side and then we were all doing another. Every representative was sort of doing the same thing, and it was an all hands on deck kind of thing. And MAC is such sort of a team environment that we were all there to ready, roll up our sleeves and help out in whichever way we needed to. And so with that, it was, my team was saying, what kind of digital tools can we put into play to make sure that the artists are able to kind of showcase all of these great, products? Other teams were making sure that, we had the correct architecture in place to open stores at different times, or the notices we had to put in the windows, as you're seeing in a lot of brick and mortar environments. So I think, to me, it's that architecture and that team mindset, while everyone is also aligned for that ultimate goal, which was driving the success.
Great. Let's see. Do we have any questions?
We do. And hi, Sonia. And
Hi.
please send me that wallpaper. That is so Rocky Horror.
It is a favorite.
We do have a question. Sophie has asked me to. Sophie Dukas has asked me to ask you what marketing initiatives, excuse me, or social media channels has Mac been using to gain awareness of these new digital initiatives for both longtime loyal customers and new potential customers?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so, Mac has a lot of really strong channels in which to communicate with our customers. We certainly have a strong email audience in which we use to communicate to different groups of consumers. We also have a great social following. You can follow us on any one of the big social channels. We are, burgeoning on TikTok as well, which is sometimes the most fun channel to watch. I love it. As well as making sure that we, put out the communications in our brick and mortar doors, and our artists also have that communication forward. So I think you've got sort of your top group of, your brick and mortar army, if you will, your artist army, to communicate certain things. You've got the social channels, which obviously have strong communication and are really where people are looking for information from us. And then also our sort of direct and email channels in that way. So we're making sure to have consistency across those channels to really kind of hit those messages home.
And how are you getting people to use the tools? It's always a heavy lift to get people to use even the simplest of tech tools that may seem simple to you and me, but things like AR, things like even creating personalized profiles, and creating, they're creating their own, sets of makeup and product mixes.
Yeah.
What is proven effective? So it's a two-part question. What is proven effective in teaching people how to use it, to get them excited about using it and getting them to use it? What's a decent benchmark? What share of people really are doing this and is good to have?
Yeah, so I would say in terms of, from an acquisition perspective, how are you getting consumers to use this tool? I mean, I think the advantages are clear. And luckily in a pandemic environment, we've had these tools to be sort of high touch while you can be no touch, right? So it really provides that localized Mac experience for the consumers inside, for example, the Queen's Innovation Lab doors. So I think that for us has really helped out. And also you can see the range of products that go together. So in Art Studio, which I know we featured earlier, you've got 10, 15 looks, all at different levels of makeup application. So for me, I always want to see, okay, if I have this, lipstick on, what eyeshadow goes along with it. We're creating that natural experience. And so I think the nature of these tools is that there is that value add. And the fact that you can scan a code and have it all sent to your email, to me, makes it super seamless. And the value prop is really there is if you do want to shop, kind of self-shop, if you will, versus with an artist, you can get all of that information and kind of see the brand representation in that manner. So I think the value proposition is there. And I think you really have to look at, an engagement metric connecting to your traffic. Traffic in this environment, at least for the last year, and our Queen's Innovation Lab launched in September, obviously very different than a normal retail environment. So I think you have to look at all of your different traffic metrics that you have and what your in-store engagement has looked like previously and see if these tools are additive to that. And as I mentioned before, within the first month, we saw, 200+% engagement increase. So for us, we knew that there was something there. And so that's why we continue to feed the tools and build out further from there. How
does it feed the bottom line though? In the end, are these the people who engage these tools, are they simply more valuable consumers?
I mean, yeah, they're engaging with the brands in a different way. Not only are they speaking to the artists, they're speaking, to our digital tools. And we're also able to see if they're online later and converting maybe on .com for a product they hadn't, thought about purchasing in store. So the fact that it creates a bridge between that physical experience and the Mac, MacCosmetics.com experience, we're able to really see what that behavior looks like and then build a further personalized experience from there. So it really allows us to kind of enrich that full journey versus just thinking in separate channels.
Right.
Well, thank you, Sonia, and thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sonia. And especially, I think it's interesting that you can open up so many other products that you would never, I might not have thought of until you then see the palette.
Yeah, I was never a red lipstick girl until I had VTO, and then all of a sudden.
Yep. Oh yeah.
This is why Lisa did this interview, not because
Actually, the lipstick one I like the best because I hate trying on lipstick.
I know, because it's like,
Get it off, so it's
we've
perfect.
all been there, Lisa.
I
We've all
would have
been
been
there.
lost. I wouldn't have even known where to start. But I love the background. I just
Yeah.
love the background.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me
Thanks,
today.
guys.
Thank you,
You're
Lisa.
great.